Minneapolis. Mortenson Construction now consists of 8 different operating groups across the country. We have offices in Seattle, Denver, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Chicago. We have 3 different national projects, our renewable energies groups, our national project group, and our federal compact group. From there, I want to talk about a little bit about our Mortenson BDC timeline. We put together this slide for a few different presentations that we do, and I wanted to point out a few things on this slide. And one of the first things we point out is, again, talking about the Disney Concert Hall in 1999, we partnered with Stanford Sci-Fi and Disney Imagineering to create one of the first 4Ds for the industry. And I have a video of that today. It's pretty interesting to see that it's not all that much different than what we use today. The graphics, of course, are a little bit better. You can tell it looks like somebody did a screen record, not an export out. But you can see they had all the colors, they used the cranes, they did the sequencing. And again, this was, back in 1999 to 2002 that they created this. This is the overall one.
As you can see, the structure is definitely a product that uses 3D. The unique structure on the outer shell.
So this one was the overall project. There's coming up here is, and I might just speed it up a little bit, is some detailed 4Ds they actually did to the project as well. And this is some roof panels. They had all these crazy roof panels in the main concert hall. So again, they coordinated the panels, the steel, and even some of the MEP stuff. And again, this was back in 1992. Or 99. The other thing that I would like to point out on this, in 2002, we formed our IDAT group. It's the Integrated Delivery Advancement Team, and it's all of our ICCs work underneath that group. From there, it really focused us on the BDC side of construction and really put a good organization for Mortenson to start at that time and work for the future. You can see there's quite a few different milestones that we have on here. One of our latest milestones is in 2010, we signed an enterprise agreement with 4D, with Synchro for our 4D solution. A little bit about IDAT. IDAT is our main focus is to integrate new processes, ideas, stay on the leading edge of what's going on in the industry. We have 53 members across Mortenson in the IDAT group. We meet twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. We have a couple of representatives from each operating group that come to a central location. We have a meeting. We have our committee report outs. We do operating group updates. So it's really a good way to collaborate and make sure that we're all staying on focus on certain things and we're not duplicating tasks across the country. It's a great group, and it's one of the main reasons I joined the country. The committees we have a building coordination committee, a 4D committee, the design phase, the last 100 feet, facilities management, and the legal committee. All these committees kind of come together as one to form IDAT, which is then is controlled by an executive committee. As usual, we come up with all these ideas and our plans and our goals, but to get them approved, they have to go up to senior leadership, and so we have an executive committee that consists of senior leadership members that approve our goals and our plans and make it happen. A little bit more about the 4D committee, since that's what we're here to talk about today. Our 4D committee, at one point we only had integrated construction people in the committee, and as we move forward with 4D, we realized that to be successful, we were going to need to get scheduling and IT on board.
But before we start, early on, and Andre will remember this, scheduling was involved, but we kept coming in and going out, coming in and going out. Same with ITS. They get involved, they back out, get involved, back out. Ultimately, we all got involved, we all got on the same page. That's the only way we could make 4D work at once. We all had to work together, and we just weren't doing that since 2002. It was bits and pieces here and there.
And again, the 4D committee, we have a leadership sponsor team that we, again, run across all of our goals and our schedules with. The committee chair, which is I'm the committee chair for the 4D committee, and then, of course, our committee members. From there, I want to start talking about our relationship with Synchro. In 2008, Tom came to Minneapolis to one of our IDAC meetings and presented Synchro for us. And everyone at the meeting was pretty impressed with the software and really was looking forward to using it. At that time, we were using Navisworks, and it was an example of a Navisworks. And what we've kind of learned on Navisworks is, as other people have stated throughout this meeting today, is this Navisworks is kind of static. And this was a steel erection 4D that we did. And it turned out to work for the project, but the amount of resources and time and effort that went in to upkeeping it, updating the model, updating the schedule, getting it put back together, it was like every week we'd have a meeting to go over it. Well, as we all know now with Synchro, we could work out these same issues in an hour to a 2-hour meeting. And once we had this meeting and seen it, we were looking forward to moving away from Navisworks. Then in April of 2008, we bought our first trial licenses. A few of the operating groups agreed to try it out. Everybody that used it had really positive responses, so we continue to work with Synchro to work out a solution for us. In April of 2009, we created our first production 4D models for Synchro that we're going to use for the job. I say production, we did do some BD work and some other ones, but this is what we really wanted Synchro for, was to do on-site planning and sequencing. This first example is the Silver Cross Hospital in Tapio.
Yeah, thought process. This was, yes, this was our first 4D model with Synchro. And this is when we were trying to get the API to work between Synchro and P6. So what we had to do is we had to export out the P6 schedule. We emailed it across the ocean, and they would take a look at it. Ultimately, since the API wasn't working, we actually exported it into Microsoft Project and brought it into Synchro. But that's how we, but this also helps Synchro to create the API between P6 and Synchro, which we have now, which has been very helpful.
The other project that we did was the steel erection for the Seattle University library expansion. And on this one, we did mainly just the excavation and structure. It was very successful again in working out plans and sequencing. Another thing that came from this that is kind of repeated along the way is what I realized when I went over this with the superintendent is he never looked at the model. I showed him the model, he knew we had a model, he never really looked at it. We go to do the 4D and he starts looking at it and he sees these brace frames that were designed to go from the first floor all the way to the top. And he sees it and goes, wait a second, we can't do this. And this was 6 months before we started, and our first RFI came from reviewing the Synchro model and seeing the brace frames were not designed correctly. From there, we set up 15 trial licenses with Synchro. We worked with Tom to continue our testing and evaluation. And from there, in February of 2010, we had our first success with getting the API working with P6. We still had some issues as far as how long it took and some timing issues. We continue to work with Synchro on that. They were great to work with. They helped us get everything up to where we wanted it. And at that time, we got 20 more licenses for 90 more days to continue our evaluation. And at that point, we were able to get the scheduling department officially on board for testing.
And that is great. Until that API worked, the scheduling department did not want, I mean, we were doing a little bit of testing, but we couldn't get on board because how do you bring the schedule into Synchro? You know, it still had to go through the ICC hands, and it was like, no, that wouldn't work. So now we were fully on board, and we were working together with the ICCs to keep it moving.
Another big thing I got from the schedulers themselves is when we showed them Navisworks, again, it's a modeling software, it's a design tool, it's not a scheduling software. When they seen Synchro and seen that it had scheduling parts of it, and they felt comfortable with it, it was another key part of getting them on board. After that, Stephen Dolan came to Minneapolis and Seattle and gave us the one-day training program, which was key again to keep our evaluation and get the right people trained and involved and ready to go with Synchro.
And this is also key because Minneapolis was not on board, the Minneapolis operating group of all the groups was not on board with this. So we brought in 2 of their ICCs, and then I was the scheduling manager in the Minneapolis office at the time, so I just said, okay, we sat down, Stephen trained us, and it was a very good training session, and it really got Minneapolis on board with it.
From there, we prepared and submitted our Synchro Enterprise solution to our sponsor team in October of 2010. After some evaluation, the sponsor team agreed and the solution was signed.
And if you guys notice, during this time, there's quite a bit of lag between when we had the training and when we had this signed. A lot of that's because we were still working on the API issues. We were trying to reduce the time. It was about 4 to 6 hours for about a 4,000 activity project to get synced. And I think by the time we had this signed, it was down to about 2 hours. And that is out of the Minneapolis office. I think it was in Seattle on the remote site.
Once we had the agreement signed, we formed a rollout team to roll out Synchro to the company. This team existed of IT lead, Kathy as the scheduling lead, and me as the ICC lead. We created a training and deployment strategy and then recommended an approach to our sponsor group. The sponsor group approved the rollout, and we identified our pilot groups.
We identified 1 pilot project, a minimum from each operating group. That way they could all be involved and give us what they needed.
From there, we realized for this pilot team to be successful, they were going to need to have the training as well. But one thing that we needed to do to get the training for our Morrison personnel was we worked with Synchro to get their training program, and then we updated it to be P6 instead of Microsoft Project. We had 2 full-day training sessions in Minneapolis where we had people come in from all across the country, schedulers and ICs to take on the training. The pilots were successful, and in April of 2011, we rolled out Synchro to the entire company. From there, we had quite a few projects that took on Synchro and started using it. One of our first unique uses of Synchro was a case study here that we did for the Opal wastewater treatment plant in Portland, Oregon. Now this project was a pretty unique situation in where our scheduler took the model, he linked up all of the scheduling activities to the model, and what the schedule that we were looking at was this plant was an existing plant with an expansion, and there was a key date that was set that they were going to shut down the plant for 8 hours to do the switch over and turn off all the old stuff, turn on all the new stuff. And as you can imagine, you don't want something to go wrong at a wastewater treatment plant. So the project manager liked the presentation so much, he asked the scheduler to stay with him that afternoon. So that afternoon, they trained him on how to use it. From then on, the project manager on that team kept the Synchro model and the schedule and everything up to date, used it in all of his planning meetings, all of his sub-meetings, and with all of his owners' meetings. It was a great success for the project. One of the next things we did is one of the guys from one of the federal contracting groups noticed that Synchro and Bitly were having a partnership, and in our federal contracting group, we worked a lot with the Army Corps of Engineers that required microstation models. And once I seen the article, I wanted to be part of this and help test this because we were falling behind in those groups as far as with Bitly and doing the 4D. We had some workarounds we had to do, but it was a little bit more work than they were willing to do the 4D. So once we got that, we helped Synchro, we supplied some models with them, we did some testing on our side, and today they're creating 4Ds and having none of the issues that we had before. We're looking forward to the new release of this next upgrade. Then in September, Tom got us a beta version of the next Synchro with the new API for the new Primavera P6.8.
Because during this time, since about June of 2011, we were testing P6 version 8. We were ready to go to it as pretty difficult with that web application, so we needed to test Synchro with that. Synchro had to roll out with P6V8 when we did it. We had to make sure everything worked pretty seamlessly. And it did.
And at this time, since we had already rolled out Synchro to the company, we have strategic upgrades, and we didn't want to have people go to the next version and have multiple versions on the operating groups. So IT, we worked with IT, and they were able to set us up a remote desktop to continue the testing of the API, splicing, Bitly, and that was key for us to continue testing and moving forward with Synchro and still be able to stay in production on the projects.
And this remote desktop is a Citrix desktop, so everybody had to go in through Citrix to do any type of testing. So that was our first look at how Synchro worked in Citrix.
And then in December, we rolled out the new version of P6.8 along with the next version of Synchro seamlessly, had no problems. All the projects were able to update, had no problems syncing or with old schedules.
Everything worked fine. It's the P6 side that didn't work properly. But, well.
So with that, we were able to continue moving forward without any lag time. That brings us kind of to our current state. One of our big focuses in our 4D committee is training, and we realize the more people we can get trained and familiar with the software, the more people are going to use it.
And like Neil was telling you, with Synchro's help, we started with their manual, we've updated it to include P6 in it. And we are continuing to update the Mortensen ICCs this week. They get sent the manual, they have someone to oversee them, and they have to work through all that training. This is lots of feedback. We are just now incorporating it into our superintendent training, more for what they can see as an overview, out on the site. We're going to use it for their 3-week or their short-term look-aheads. We have put it on the plan room computers out in the field so they can pull up the model and see what's going on. It is getting ready to be rolled out on our plan of the day meetings out at one of our job sites. That way the superintendents can be right there with the model. We also have some schedulers on board with it. They are also being trained, so we have job site schedulers who are actually using Synchro out on the job site with the superintendents. And we are getting ready to put it into our engineer training. We have a program where the engineers have to go through scheduling training, and it's about a 6 to 8 week course in-house. And during that time, they are going to be doing Synchro on the site. So this is going to be pretty helpful. So this is the first project's going to go down, I think, I don't know, this year.
Another one of our current uses is a what-if sequencing and material sequencing. I'm going to show you an example here. This is another wastewater treatment plant. This is a big aeration basin that they're going to build. And if you can see the way the concrete has to be poured, it has to be poured in certain sequences because of cure time. So they have to stagger the pours and the way that it's going to be built. So by our ICC working with the superintendent, we were able to clearly work out the sequence for the superintendent, and he was super happy with it. He's so impressed with the software, he's going to use this 4D model. He's going to send it out to the form subs and say, this is what we're building, this is how we're going to build it, we don't want any extra forms, give us a quote and give us the material to build it just like this. And we're going to use the 4D model to get that information from the sub. Another thing that we've noticed, and this has kind of come up a few different times during today as well, is when you're doing a 4D model, and if you add every piece of detail you get from all the models you get, it really slows down the 4D, the modeling, and everything else. So what we've decided is we're identifying certain areas of a project, that piece of the schedule, and that piece of the model, and concentrating on those areas and just creating mini 4Ds of just little areas. The one here I'm going to show you is in Billings, we just finished, or we're about to finish up a new courthouse for the GSA. And in this courthouse, there's 4 different courtrooms that are almost identical. So what they decided to do is take one of the courtrooms and work out all the sequencing from the casework to the MEP, to the furniture, to the flooring, and worked it all out through here. And again, in this one, they found constructability issues with drawings compared to what the subs were going to do. And after a couple of weeks of meetings back and forth, they were able to use these models again to work with the subs and then show the exact sequencing of how everything is moving. Another one that came out of the building support costs is that one of our new requirements for any type of work that we do is we do an integrated work plan. And our work plan has safety, quality, sequencing, all the things you would need to do for a certain piece of the project. On this project, you know, they could talk about sequencing to a point, but what our ICC was able to do is he embedded the 4D sequencing video into a PDF that then was used at the plan of the day with the subs and everyone else to show the sequencing and not just talk about sequencing. And again, everybody was really impressed and it ended up being a huge tool for this part of the project.
The project is not real.
It's the Billings Federal Courthouse. Another thing that we also current users are is we're getting more and more requirements to do 4D. More and more owners and projects are wanting a 4D project. From here, I'm just going to start playing a compilation and kind of talk through the rest of this. The first one that's going to be on our compilation video here is the Pugola Ice Arena from Penn State. This project requires a 4D update along with the schedule every month. And from this project alone has really driven a lot of our best practices that you've seen on this slide before. One of the first best practices we developed was auto linking with Revit models. And that became key to really being able to keep the models up to date, linking the models very quickly. And by what we were able to do is in Revit, when we made an added user field called 4D, we could take the codes from our schedules, put them in that user field. Then when you bring the model and the schedule into Synchro, you hit the auto link, set up your parameters, push the button, and within a few minutes your whole project is all synced up.
And along with that, with all the work we have done with Synchro, it is now able to resync the schedule back and forth, and we don't have to have the same schedule name for our what-ifs. And it's been very nice for them to be able to link the model a lot quicker by resyncing.
Another best practice we did is we had a scheduling standard that we use for scheduling in Mortensen. With that, we were able to take advantage of that standard and Synchro develop filtering systems that really easily we can filter out the schedule and the model if it's a Revit model that shows the type of work, where it's at. And so we can just say, let's see steel erection. We can take the overall 4D model, filter out everything with the steel and model steel and the schedule and run just the steel without having to go out and create a whole new model. The other best practices we're developing right now on the Pugola Ice Arena, again with the updates every month, we're getting the updated model like every month as well. And instead of having to go back into this model and recode it every time we get a new model, we're working on a database link where we can store the codes in a link, a database outside of it. We get the new model, goes back, and it again looks at the model unique IDs and reapplies the codes to all the existing codes that we have. We just have to add the new codes, bring it back into Synchro, auto link, and we can update a model in a couple hours. And the last best practices that we really need to get on is doing auto linking for all the other types of modeling softwares out there. All the AutoCADs besides Revit, SketchUp, and BIM. And that's our presentation.
Thank you for allowing us to come.